Everybody, what's going on? I am Jamie Dawn, your evolutionary, revolutionary astrologer, bringing you your celestial wisdom for the week of March 28th, all the way into April 4th, which happens to be Sunday. It's Easter Sunday for those of you who observe Easter. And we've got, well, a lot of energy after a full moon in Libra. And hopefully you watched my video from last week, so you got a little preview as far as what you can expect around relationships, around finding balance between myself and others, that sort of thing. And I'm going to talk about it just a little bit more. But before I dive in, I just want to just say thank you so much for your love, your support, and also just for connection, because that's the one thing that we as human beings need most right now, is to really feel not just deeply connected to ourselves and our own inner wisdom, but then to be able to share with others. With Mars and Gemini, we are really craving and desiring connection. And so I would offer that no matter what this last weekend may have brought up for you, please make sure that you reach out to those that you care about, and even be willing to ask for connection or help or conversation, something that allows you to feel as though your cup is being filled. Okay, so let's dive in. No doubt that we're still coming off of this, like I say, full moon. It had the energy where the mother, the moon, the way we nurture ourselves, our subconscious, that it was standing across the sky from the sun, from Venus, from Chiron at 8 degrees. This was a powerful, powerful full moon. And I would imagine that any wounding that may have revealed itself when it comes to relationships, when it comes to finances, individual expression, wanting freedom, but yet still have a relationship, especially those of us who may be struggling in relationship and really deeply connecting with that person, this full moon most likely brought up feelings maybe of worthlessness, or what am I doing wrong, or why can't I have what I want? And how can we turn that wounding into a place of healing, not just for ourselves, but maybe for others? And remembering that we all have worth. We have breath. We're here for a purpose. And that when we are in our greatest challenges, it allows us to really drive into the heart of the pain and realize that we can stand up in the middle of the fire and not get burned. And pain is like that. It's like feeling as though we're being burned at the stake, so to speak. And so the invitation over this weekend was to be able to recognize, honor the pain, honor how far we've come when it comes to our relationships and our healing, and really be able to give ourselves that atta girl, atta boy, atta they, whatever it is that you need in order to pat yourself on the back and say, man, look how far I've come. And remember that this is a full moon in Libra. We had a new moon in Libra back in October. So it's almost like this is a bit of a bookend for maybe some themes that had come up in the last 6 months. So we have an opportunity to be able to let those go, let limiting beliefs go. We have an opportunity to look at our relationships and our values and see where we may have either mothered somebody, which, you know, if you're partnered with somebody, you really don't want to be their mother. You do want to nurture the relationship. So it's possible that you are looking at how you show up, how you relate to others. This isn't just romance. It could be in business as well. How do you interact with your coworkers or your boss or your business partner? How do you interact with the way you view yourself in the world? What kind of legacy are you leaving, or what kind of reputation do you have? And this is where we most likely, leading up to that full moon, we're looking at where things were out of balance and we needed to bring it back into balance. And that created tension that needed to be released. And so keep in mind, Libra really loves balance, it loves harmony, it loves peace, but we can't have peace without war. They live on the same axes. And so in order to, and when I say war, it could be literal, hopefully not, but it's also where we find that tension, right? And war has a tendency to show up when there are resources involved or there is conflict that needs to be resolved in order to find that peace. And so that's what we have been working with, and we can't avoid it. Libra energy, for those of you who have a dominant Libra in your chart, you have a tendency to wear tennis shoes on a regular basis and you go for a run. It's like, oh my God, conflict? No, thank you, because I just want everything to be really nice. And so often it has a tendency, this energy of Libra has a tendency to sugarcoat or to pretend or flatter. And in order to keep things copacetic, in order to make things really sweet and nice, instead of speaking truth. However, at this full moon, I would imagine a lot of truth emerged and a lot of things were said or done that basically revealed, thank God, because Mercury in Pisces right now is not the revealer of what truth is. It also emphasizes wanting to hide it. But with the Sun, Venus, and Chiron in Aries, there's no mixing of energy and words. It is direct, it's straight, it's impulsive, maybe saying things that you didn't really think about. And in some ways that's good, because this full moon in Libra could have had us going, back and forth, weighing the options. It's the scales, right? And we could have been caught in some indecision, whereas the universe is so loving that it said, no more, cutting to the truth. This is what needs to happen. So setting all this up for this week, because we've got Venus, our planet of love and beauty and harmony and attraction, and also relationships and finances, will be canoodling with the sun this week. And so when we are working with Venus and the sun, it's in astrology, it's called they're combust, but basically the sun is overpowering Venus. And so our self-esteem or our ego may be challenged. We may find ourselves coming off of this full moon in Libra saying, okay, now I'm clear about the truth in this relationship or in where I'm spending my resources or what I value. And now I'm really looking for approval that I'm okay. The other thing about this full moon is it could have unearthed a lot of vulnerability. And those of you who are familiar with grief and about vulnerability, oftentimes what happens when we're vulnerable is we then feel so exposed, we want to be nurtured. And yet, so we're going to be looking for that approval of like, am I okay? Because do I appear weak to you? Do I appear as though I don't have my shit together? I mean, do you lose respect for me because I've been vulnerable with you and shared like my innermost secrets or my innermost thoughts and fears? So with Venus canoodling with the sun, that may challenge us a bit. When that death of the ego can come in, especially when it comes to love and partnership, and we're going to want to receive some form of value from it. So there's going to be a lot of desire and energy for external validation. Now, there's the philosophy about we don't need somebody else to validate our worth and we should be our own best partner. And I agree. I mean, I think there's value in that. At the same time, if we don't have external validation, how do we know we exist? Then we're just living in our own little island, in our own little world. And that's not what we as human beings are here to do. We're here to relate. So here's this week's energy when we may be feeling, like I say, that vulnerability. We're trying to find our power again. We're trying to rise up in the middle of life. And we could find ourselves becoming prideful in how we assert ourselves in the relationship or with our finances, going, yeah, now I'm really clear about what I want, what I have. Look at me. It's possible that some narcissistic tendencies could show up this week. And we may find ourselves maybe interacting with a narcissist. This energy could help us call it out, help us stand up to the bully. There's some of that. We may, if we're not careful, give in too easily to maybe some demanding partners. So pay attention. If you're feeling bullied by somebody, even in a passive aggressive way, it may be a calling this week to stand up and say, enough, this is my truth, and this is what I need. And we're going to have further cosmic support to do that very thing, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Now, the sun in Aries, we may not be so inclined to giving in. So that's going to help us, especially if the partner or person that we're working with, the boss, whatever, starts to become really demanding or pushy and threatens our freedom and our independence. There could be some tension here with this Sun-Venus canoodling. It's also possible that we feel like, I mentioned we're wanting to connect with each other. And so we start filling up our calendars, our social life, and then all of a sudden we don't have the private time, or we don't have the opportunity to, maybe our partner is needing us, and it's like, yeah, I've committed to going here and there and connecting with my girlfriends or my guy friends or whatever. And so, your personal life could be affected by that social life. So that's something else to pay attention to. Is it's not about controlling your schedule, it's about paying attention to it and making choices, because consciousness is awareness of everything. It's not negating anything, it's integrating it all and coming from a place of choice, which gives us freedom. So then we have Mercury, our planet of thinking, our planet of organizing our thoughts, how we learn, how we communicate. It's going to be canoodling with Neptune, the planet of imagination and dreams and compassion and psychic activity, but also fogginess and deception can be in there, and boundlessness. There's no boundaries here. So our minds, our thoughts, or the ways in which we learn could be all over the place. It's possible that our thoughts become really nebulous, or our conversations don't seem to make sense. Like for me, I have this ability of organizing my thoughts in my mind, and everything seems to make sense. But when I communicate it, the other person is like, I'm not understanding what you mean. I'm like, but it sounded good in my head. And so we may have quite a bit of that. And it feels as though maybe we're deceiving ourselves or somebody else. At the same time, it is possible that we get easily deceived by words, or somebody, sharing their dreams and hopes. Let's say we'll use relationship, because that's, a big trigger for most of us. Somebody is over promising and under delivering. Or they're saying, oh, I dream about our future together. It will be so beautiful, and this is what I want. But then when the reality settles in, it's not what they said. Or they maybe in a few days pull back and say, never mind, I can't do it because. So it's really our expectations that start to get dashed across the cracks, At the same time, the Mercury and Neptune canoodling can offer some very compassionate conversation. So if you're still working with that full moon energy, you're still working with conflict and tension, healing in whatever may have shown up, this is a great week to be able to sit with that other person or group and say, this is what I'm sensing, this is what I'm feeling. Our sixth sense is going to be extremely active. So please tap into your guides, your teachers, your masters, your ancestors, whoever you use as help, God, goddess, and really take the time to activate the third eye and listen very deeply. Listen to the body, listen to the mind, listen to what the universe is trying to offer you, and then make decisions accordingly. Give some spaciousness. That's the other thing with Mercury and Neptune, is that it's an opportunity to be able to say to another, hey, I'm hearing what you're saying. I need some time to process it. This week can also be a time where conversations that may have been on the back burner, relationships that you may have thought were sort of in the behind the scenes, start to emerge again. And so you may end up finding that you can have a lot of conversation and reconnection with these conversations and ideas and people, but you may still need to let it percolate. Because there could be difficulty in concentrating on what's actually being said. I would say that with the Mercury-Neptune conjunction, you're really going to need to feel your way through it, or sense your way through it. And not just in a tangible sensory way, but in the third eye, sixth sense. So really allow the signs and symbols to drop in. I can tell you that if you're honest, if we're all honest or candid and forthright in our dealings with others, then this time could lead to the manifestation. So really taking the time to speak truth. What is it that I believe? What is it that I need? What is it that I feel? And being able to communicate that from a real, honest place. That is going to help us manifest these desires that we have. Now, I mentioned more cosmic support around the ideas of what we want, what we need in relationship, commitment, how people show up. So later in the week, we've got Saturn trining the North Node, Venus sextiling the North Node. We've also got the North and South nodes are activated with the Sun, because the Sun will trine the South Node and will sextile the North Node. So Saturn, Venus, the Sun, all energizing these nodes of the Moon, North Node being in Gemini, South Node in Sagittarius. So we have this subconscious activation. The nodes of the Moon deal with the subconscious. It deals with what we bring into this lifetime to manifest as well as to integrate. And I've talked about that in my North Node and South Node videos, and my Nodes of the Moon videos. But when we're working with the head of the dragon, that North Node, the tail of the dragon, the South Node, we really are working on taking everything that we have up to this point, integrating it to continue to move forward to our destiny, to continue to move forward to the evolution of our soul. And so Saturn, our planet of structure, organization, discipline, boundaries, restriction, is going to make this wonderful harmonious aspect to the North Node, while Venus, as I mentioned, our planet of love and beauty, harmony, peace, feminine, is sextiling our North Node. So there should be, this is the gift of the conversations, connections, that sort of thing that we have started or that we're working with, there could be an increased patience and longevity that settles in. We may finally settle into this idea that life, love, achieving what we want, it takes time, that it is a marathon, not a sprint. And that when we can show up authentically, then we can embody our truth in a very realistic and tangible way. So we may find that as we're mixing things up with conversation and decisions and things like that, that level-headed wisdom settles in. We may still be juggling a lot. However, we will make decisions based on the value that it's adding to ourselves, to the situation, to another. And we may also decide that there is great value in gaining more competence or experience in a particular subject matter. So if you are wanting to become more competent, let's say in relationships, then you're going to go deeper with that person. Or if you want to become more competent or masterful with a particular subject matter, you may grab another book, you may have a mentor, you may get a coach, something along those lines. It may also be that you decide to put yourself out there through writing, through speaking, with that North Node in Gemini, you're espousing a truth. And remember, truth is relative based on our values and our experiences and individuals. However, it's your truth. Own it. That's the other thing about this Saturn and Venus sextile and trine to the North Node, is that there should be more ownership of our truth, of our ideas, of what we want in order to be more authentic. We may also find that our expertise, because we're showing up authentically and we're speaking truth, is sought after. And so just like Ganesha, if you will, removes the obstacles, we could find that if there's something that's been stagnant for a while, we finally get some movement forward. It's almost like the obstacles seem to disappear. I mentioned the North and South nodes are activated with the Sun as well. So there could be an extra boost in our energy if you felt a little listless, or if you were still wrestling with this feeling of vulnerability, that you could find an extra boost of vitality and a sense of purpose of going, okay, I'm back in my power. I'm feeling good. I'm clear about the direction I want to go. And now that I've owned my wounds, I've owned my vulnerability, I've owned the things that I need. Now I'm clear on why I want what I want, what it is, and how I'm going to get there. And this could be such a positive boost to where you're going and why you want it. And this will also allow you to communicate and show up for others because I think the thing that most of us want most is we align ourselves with people who are authentic. Even if we don't like them or like their behavior, we at least know who they are, or at least who they are in that moment. I go back to better the devil you know than the one you don't. So I would rather show me who you are, and then I get to make a decision of whether I align or not. And at the end of the day, it's about acceptance. Can I accept this about that person or that group? And if not, what changes do I need to make? Because I'm not responsible or in control of what somebody else is going to do. I'm responsible for my attitude and my choices. And so that's what we're going to keep working with. And we'll have the extra energy in order to show up in a real way. Now, Venus is also chasing her cosmic lover Mars this week, trying to make this sextile. So when Venus and Mars are feeling this energy, remember, Venus represents the feminine or sensual nature and rules over love and money or finances and values and sentiments as well. And Mars is the masculine, it's the desire nature. It's the one that just penetrates the energy field and says, I'm going to have what I want no matter what, even without thinking, very impulsive, right? Venus also rules the arts. Mars rules iron and sharp objects and weapons, things like that, tools, things like that. So we've got love and beauty and art and a sextile to tools and sharpness and masculine. So what we may find with this aspect called a sextile is that we should have a nice even flow of sexual and romantic energies where we're not overly aggressive, because Mars brings out the aggression or the assertiveness, but we're also not so easygoing that we fall all over ourselves, especially with Venus and Aries, because Venus and Aries wants what she wants. She's bold, she's assertive, probably a little too much at times, but she has a tendency to be happiest when things are flowing her way. Venus wants to get her way when she's in Aries. And because there is this Mars energy, because Mars rules Aries, with Venus, I have a feeling that our relationships and the way we spend our money, what we value, it's going to have quite a bit of independence to it. And that we want to partner with somebody who doesn't just do the talk of, yes, I'm committed, yes, I want this, but they actually show up. And we're going to challenge them in a good way to say, if you really believe this or you say you're going to do it, then you better show up. And if not, I'm going to call you out on it. You know, I would say that most of us will be feeling this attraction for commitment. And we want the commitment that allows us to be our best versions of ourselves inside of the relationship. And so we're going to be looking at not just romantic relationships, but relationships of all kinds, of saying, okay, here I am as an individual, part of this collective field. How can I authentically express the vision and the desire of the collective in my own way, and that we can still stay connected? And I think that's what, we're going to be most likely wrestling with a little bit, but it should flow pretty easily, because we could easily attract those who celebrate our individuality while continuing to push this common vision into the forefront. So if you're in a bonded relationship, you and your mate may decide, hey, we are in this together, whatever we have to face, whatever we're tackling, whatever we're planning for the future, we're doing this in a way that is meaningful and we're on the same page. But if I want to, paint a room to improve the home, let's just use that as an example, then my partner can choose to use a rolling brush. Well, I'm going to choose to use a paintbrush, and so you're still accomplishing painting the room. You're just using different tools in which to do it. So that could be some of what shows up for us this week. Maybe some of you are literally painting a room, but most likely you're looking at that, like I say, that common vision and doing it your own way, but together. All right, you guys, I really hope this helps. One little other transit just to mention, and I'll talk about it again in my upcoming video for next week. But we do have Mercury moving into Aries on April 4th, which, like I say, is Easter Sunday for those who observe it. And I'll talk more about it, but if you're feeling this week that your mind is a little foggy, like I said, or you feel lost or directionless at times, when Mercury moves into Aries, you should start to feel sharper. Your thoughts should be really clear, and the way in which you communicate could be very direct. So if you're dealing with somebody who seems a little passive aggressive or nebulous in their even in the way they communicate with you, and you're like, I don't understand what's going on here. When Mercury moves into Aries on Sunday, should start to clear the fog, cut through the fog, and things should start to become really clear. So again, please use this Saturn trine the North Node energy to stay patient, to remember that this life, these relationships, the things that we're working with, the decisions that are being made, it is a marathon. So pace yourself. That's the thing. Let's just pace ourselves this week and really do the ebb and flow. All right. I want to hear how it goes. Find me at jamiedawn.com. I'm so excited, you guys. Also, just as another little note, your April 2021 horoscopes are going to be available April 1st. So rabbit to all of you. I'll probably post it on social media of rabbit, but letting you know that those videos will be out, as well as my April blog. All right, you guys, have such a great week. Find me at jamiedawn.com.